Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and what we think is likely to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button, I do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in the Discord server, why not go ahead and check that out. It's completely free. I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. Okay, let's make a start with this. Bitcoin paired up with USDT on the hourly chart. Binance is the data source. Now, they're going to be following on from the stream that we did on Twitch this morning, basically kind of talking about anything that has changed in the last 24 hours for Bitcoin. Now, from the price action, it's been reasonably slow. We've been trading basically between these two areas. So the top area here, this larger yellow box, this area is basically my targeted range on what my expectations were considering this drop here. Okay, you can see that we worked up nice and high and we came back down resting on this lower area. Okay, now we think of this as a reasonable area of demand coming in or supply coming in, and this area down here being the demand. Okay, this is where people are coming in to buy. So we think of this as our support lines. Okay, so yesterday we saw a big pull to the downside. We saw this wick come down here. Other than that, we've kind of just been bouncing around a little bit. My expectations are that we come back up into this yellow box area before we talk about any potential moves to the downside. And let me walk you through why I think this. Now, we have three wave structures. These are just corrective. We can kind of say that one looks like it is done there. But we've got to move up in three. Now, there's a small one in here. It's possible that it's done like this, okay, and we can move on down. And if that is the case, then the next one would be looking like this, and we've just got to come down a little bit further, which we kind of already did about 2 hours ago. Okay, so it's possible that this one is also kind of looking to be kind of complete. What you were noticing across here is that this area is holding reasonably well, and it is a good area of support. Now, when we think about this, we've got 3 up, 3 down, but these are not, in line with this 3-wave drop. Therefore, I think what's actually going on here is a 3-wave structured move to the upside that's a little bit more than we're currently seeing, like that. Then, of course, what we can do is we can actually articulate this in a slightly bigger way by thinking of this as an A wave, this as a B wave, and then coming back down into this as a C wave. Now, the reason for this is there's a target down here that's really interesting, $19,020 approximately. So I'm going to go ahead and just tidy some of this up, and that's kind of my thoughts. And I'm going to run a fib, and I'm going to run this fib for starters actually on this high point to this low point. If I can do that without actually moving it, let's grab it. There we go. There we go. And then move that over to this wick that's just down here. And you can see that we have this potential theoretical $19,500 level. Okay. So I'm going to quickly just go in and grab a price label. I'm going to just drop that right there. It's about, it's actually a little bit higher than that. It's actually at the 19,507.09 from where I've eyeballed it. So I'm going to leave that label just there for a second. Okay. And then of course we're going to grab the fibs again. This time we're going to run it from a slightly bigger point of view, which is this one here. And if this is our bouncing point, as in we're going to bounce up here, then get rejected from it, then we're going to move down towards this $18,000 level. Now, as I had that before, and as per the stream, it was actually a little bit higher than this. I was estimating it to be somewhere more around about here-ish. I think it was actually about $19,012, right? So you can kind of see that we're in this area here. Okay, so things can change ever so slightly, but if I do pull this back down to this range here, you'll notice that it's resting on this yellow box area down at the bottom. This here is going to be our next level of support, and this is where more buyers are lining up, more demand for Bitcoin comes in my opinion. Okay, so we start thinking about where the liquidity is and all those wonderful things. We can start thinking about maybe as a small push up and then a pull to the downside. Now, will be one of those to keep a close eye on. But structurally speaking, I think it will look like this. We move up, then we pull to the downside, okay? And it will look something like that. So let's go ahead and just remove that off there. I don't really need to label it because it's right on top of that support line. Now, if I go ahead and bring our stochastic RSI into play, what can we see? Well, the hourly chart's looking for a move up. The 4-hour chart is oversold, looking for a potential move to the upside. The 8-hour, on the other hand, is actually reasonably high and does need to pull to the downside, and so does the daily, okay? But we're not quite there yet. I think we've got a little bit more up before down. Okay, and of course, if we are looking at this, then we're going to want to kind of see whether or not this is going to be anything more major, slightly longer term. Do we drop down more significantly or not, and so forth. Okay, now all of this could be articulated as a bigger move, which might look like this eventually. okay, and it takes us up towards, I think it was actually, yeah, up here towards our $20,475 level. Now that's a bit on the higher side considering the scale of where we're talking about dropping down, but you kind of get the idea. Okay, so these are possible scenarios that we're going to be keeping an eye on. And yeah, for now we could have just zigzagged here. We move up and then we could pull back down later and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things to think about, lots of different structures. If you want to know more about the detail of it, then do join us on the Twitch live streams. But I will link in the one that we did this morning down in the description below, so you can check that one out, along with the Discord server, Patreon services, and other kind of things that we have to offer down in the description. But yeah, so ultimately it looks like this. Now, the sentiment that we were talking about this morning was pretty much long. And right here in the last 5 minutes, the market is still going long. Okay, so it does look like where is this potential move upwards that the majority are seeing, but I don't think that you're going to see that right away. And the reason is that normally, and you get wicks like this one, or we get wicks like this one over here, for example. And we obviously get the wicks like these. These are because basically the market makers like to liquidate anyone going long before the price actually goes long. Okay, so just be aware that there might be a wick to the downside that liquidates some long positions before the market actually wants to move up. But I do estimate my target to be there about 19,507 before moving down into this low range of just under $19,000, hitting into a lower range down here. Okay, now in terms of what's been going on in the background data, we obviously cover the whale wallets and the Kraken wallets and the shark wallets in the streams in the morning on Twitch. And so you can, of course, head over there for more details. But one of the interesting things that I did want to kind of pull up here was that the Krakens were buying, the whales were dumping, the sharks were buying, and of course we take a look at the smaller wallets. We have a little bit of buying happening here with dolphins, but reasonably flat with those shrimps as well. But the main takeaway is that the whales are actually dumping into this pump to the upside. So what's going to be interesting here is whether or not all they're doing is transferring into cold storage and they are the Krakens. But for the now, I'm not confident that the market's going to be going long for a while. I think essentially there's going to be some liquidity that gets grabbed, and you'll see these guys maybe dump on the market and then buy up and then dump again and buy up and dump on, and so forth. We are waiting for the Krakens to obviously do what they do best, and that is essentially bring in the bear market bottom, but they're not there yet. So more details obviously found on this stream on Twitch. We talk about all that kind of stuff there. But in terms of the price action and where we're kind of currently sat with everything, yeah, my expectations are slightly up, slightly down, and all of that can be wrapped up into bigger moves as we kind of think about zooming out here. We have got this big 5-wave drop. All of this here could be deemed a much bigger structure, right? All of this move up here, for example, let me just go ahead and map this in. So if we had this as an A, B, and C, for example, like this, my expectations were that we'd have another kind of move like that, and then another one to the upside afterwards, taking us up towards that 475. And the reason would be that it would map from down here at this low 5th wave up to A, down here into B, and all up here into C. Okay, so you end up with this kind of really long-winded move. Now, some of that might be quicker. I'm not going to be timing the market or anything like that, but you can kind of get the idea that these things have all been strung together. And it's important that when we have these kind of patterns playing out, that we don't distract ourselves from the bigger macro picture. When we zoom out, we can see that there's a lot of structure indicating lots of interesting numbers that are yet to actually have come to fruition. So we can't get too carried away considering the positioning on Bitcoin and where it is, where the whale wallets are and all those things, but also where the stochastic RSI is also sat up in those overbought areas on some of those macro timeframes. We're getting progress though. Things are looking reasonably well, but I don't want to get too carried away too soon. I still think there's more discounts to be available to us. And controversially or not, we are talking about slightly newer, lower lows, but if we were to come down into this one, I think we're done at that point. So there's a lot of things to be thinking about. Obviously, we're not seeing the uptick from the whale wallets. We're not seeing the shrimps getting shaken out yet. So all of this could just be a ruse. And, the price action of the chart gives us one perspective. The wallet data on Glassnode gives us a different perspective. The inflows and the outflows show us nothing bullish, really. It's just bearish. The demand just isn't there at the moment. So for the most part, we are in this kind of state of flux when it comes to Bitcoin. We're kind of monitoring all these kind of small micro movements. We're keeping keeping an eye on the bigger macro structures. We're keeping an eye on the metrics on chain, and together it kind of makes a very interesting kind of story. It doesn't look like the macro picture wants to represent what the whales and the shrimps are doing, but at the same time, it does look like end of structures are around that kind of $16,000 to $15,000 level, at least at the moment. Things do change, of course, but yeah, for me, I'm keeping an eye on those wallets. I'm expecting the shrimps to succumb to selling pressure. That's where the whales accumulate, and then that is when the Krakens drop on the market, bringing in the bear market bottom. So essentially, that is where I'm thinking a good accumulation points are, but the structures are indicating slightly different targets. So keeping an eye on all of this data and helping you guys navigate this space slightly safer. But do join us down in Discord, the centralized hub of cheeky crypto in a decentralized world of crypto. Why not check it out in the description down below, guys? Until the next one, have a fantastic day.